Life isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about developing the strength to face them head on. The world is changing faster than ever before, and if you're not mentally prepared, you'll get left behind. Emotional resilience isn't just a soft skill. It's the foundation of your success. The one thing that determines whether you grow through adversity or crumble under pressure. Think about it. Every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary has had one thing in common: the ability to control their emotions, to stay focused when everything around them was falling apart. They didn't let fear, doubt, or frustration dictate their actions. They learned how to master their inner world so that no matter what happened externally, they could still move forward. You're going to face setbacks. That's inevitable. You're going to have days where everything goes wrong, where the pressure is overwhelming, where it feels like you've given everything you've got, and it's still not enough. That's the moment where emotional resilience kicks in. Because success isn't about how you perform when everything is going well. It's about how you respond when everything is on the line. The problem is most people are reactive. They let their emotions control them instead of taking control of their emotions. They get angry, frustrated, or discouraged, and they make impulsive decisions based on temporary feelings. But here's the truth. Your emotions are not facts. They're just signals. They're messages telling you what's going on inside. And once you understand that, you can start using them instead of letting them use you. So how do you develop emotional resilience? It starts with conditioning. Just like you train your body in the gym, you have to train your mind every single day. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? Do you immediately check your phone, flood your mind with negativity, and start the day on the defensive? Or do you take control, feeding your mind with something powerful, something that strengthens you? You have to train yourself to reframe challenges as opportunities. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Every setback contains a lesson. Every struggle is an opportunity to build strength. When you condition your mind to see difficulties as stepping stones rather than obstacles, you become unstoppable. Another key is managing your state. Your physiology and emotions are directly linked. When you feel down, what happens? Your shoulders slump, your breathing gets shallow, your energy drops. But the moment you change your posture, the moment you breathe deeply, move with energy, and speak with certainty, your emotions shift instantly. You're in control of your state at any moment, and that means you're in control of your life. The truth is, resilience isn't about avoiding emotions, it's about mastering them. It's about recognizing fear and moving forward anyway. It's about feeling frustration but staying focused. It's about taking control of your internal world so that no matter what's happening around you, you're still in the driver's seat. Because here's the reality, life will test you. It will challenge you in ways you never expected. But those who develop emotional resilience, those who train their minds and condition themselves to push forward no matter what, those are the ones who rise, the ones who succeed, the ones who create extraordinary lives. So ask yourself, are you letting your emotions control you? Or are you ready to take control, to build the kind of resilience that makes you unstoppable? The choice is yours. If there's one thing that separates those who thrive from those who struggle, it's adaptability. The ability to pivot, to shift your mindset, to embrace change rather than resist it. That's the key to survival in an unpredictable world. Because let's be real, the only constant in life is change. Nothing stays the same. The economy shifts, industries evolve, technology disrupts entire careers, and personal circumstances can flip in an instant. The question isn't whether change is coming, it's whether you'll be ready for it. Most people fear change because they associate it with loss. They focus on what they're leaving behind rather than what they could gain. But change isn't the enemy, stagnation is. The moment you stop growing, the moment you cling to what's comfortable instead of reaching for what's possible, you start dying inside. The people who succeed, the ones who rise to the top in any field, are the ones who condition themselves to see change as an opportunity rather than a threat. Think about some of the most successful people in the world. They didn't just stumble upon success. They didn't wait for perfect circumstances. They adapted. They found solutions. They reinvented themselves when necessary. They understood that life isn't about clinging to what was. It's about stepping boldly into what could be. So how do you train yourself to become adaptable? First, you have to shift your perspective. Most people resist change because they focus on what they can't control. But the truth is, control is an illusion. You can't control the economy. You can't control other people's decisions. You can't control external circumstances. But you can control your mindset. You can control your effort, your response, your ability to learn and adjust. And when you focus on what you can control, you stop fearing what you can't. The next step is developing a growth mindset. That means embracing uncertainty, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, and understanding that failure isn't final, it's feedback. Too many people avoid risk because they're afraid of failing, but failure is the greatest teacher you'll ever have. Every mistake, every setback, every challenge contains a lesson that can make you stronger, smarter, and better prepared for the next opportunity. And then there's the power of learning. In a world that's changing rapidly, knowledge is your greatest asset. The people who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who never stop learning. They read, they seek mentors, they ask better questions, they challenge their own thinking, they evolve. But let's be clear, adaptability isn't just about reacting to change. It's about anticipating it. It's about developing the foresight to see what's coming and preparing yourself before you're forced to. It's about taking ownership of your future instead of being a victim of circumstance. So the real question is, are you ready to adapt? Are you willing to let go of what's comfortable in order to step into something greater? Because the people who succeed in this world aren't the ones who wait for things to get easier. They're the ones who step up, embrace the challenge, and take control of their destiny. Life doesn't wait for you to be ready. Opportunity doesn't knock twice. The only way to thrive in an uncertain world is to become the kind of person who can handle uncertainty. Adaptability isn't just a skill, it's a way of life. And once you embrace it, there's no limit to what you can achieve. If you want to prepare yourself for what's coming, you have to develop emotional resilience. Because let's be honest, life isn't going to get easier. The challenges won't disappear. The setbacks won't suddenly stop happening. The economy will shift. People will let you down. Unexpected obstacles will show up when you least expect them. The only thing you can control is how you respond. And that's where emotional resilience comes in. Most people think strength is about never falling, never breaking, never feeling overwhelmed. That's a lie. Real strength isn't about avoiding pain. It's about learning how to endure it without letting it define you. It's about developing the mental and emotional toughness to stand back up every time life knocks you down. Because the truth is, you will get knocked down. It's not a possibility, it's a guarantee. The people who win in life aren't the ones who never fall, they're the ones who refuse to stay down. So how do you build emotional resilience? First, you have to understand that pain is not the enemy. Pain is the price of growth. Every successful person you admire has been through something that should have broken them, but it didn't. Tolerate, not because they were special, not because they had some superhuman ability to avoid struggle, but because they learned how to use their pain instead of letting their pain use them. They didn't let a bad chapter define the rest of their story. They took the lessons, they built the muscle, and they came back stronger. The next step is shifting your perspective on adversity. Most people see challenges as proof that they're failing, but what if you started seeing them as proof that you're growing? What if every obstacle, every setback, every disappointment wasn't a dead end, but a doorway? A doorway that's forcing you to level up, to become stronger, to think differently, to expand beyond what you thought you were capable of. And let's talk about emotional control. Because in a world that thrives on distraction, negativity, and fear, One of the most powerful things you can do is control your state. Too many people go through life reacting to whatever happens to them. They wake up, check their phones, and immediately let the news, social media, or someone else's drama dictate how they feel. They give away their emotional power without even realizing it. But here's the truth. You decide how you feel. Not your circumstances, not other people, you. And the moment you take ownership of that, everything changes. That's why rituals and habits matter. Because your emotions aren't random, they're conditioned. If you start every day focusing on gratitude, if you fuel your mind with empowering thoughts instead of negativity, if you train yourself to find solutions instead of excuses, then you're programming yourself for resilience. You're building the kind of emotional muscle that won't crumble the moment things get tough. Because let's be real, life is going to test you, it's going to push you, it's going to challenge everything you think you know about yourself. The question isn't if adversity is coming. The question is whether you'll be strong enough to handle it when it does. And the answer to that question is being written right now, in the way you train your mind, in the way you build your emotional resilience. So here's the bottom line. You can let life's challenges break you, or you can let them build you. You can shrink under pressure, or you can rise because of it. But whatever you do, don't wait for things to get easier. Get stronger. Because the stronger you become, the less anything can stop you. If there's one skill that will determine your success in the future, it's adaptability. The world is changing faster than ever. Industries are shifting, technology is evolving, and the way we do business, communicate, and navigate life is transforming at a speed we've never seen before. If you want to stay ahead, if you want to thrive instead of just survive, you must become adaptable. You have to train yourself to pivot, to adjust, to embrace uncertainty instead of fearing it. Because here's the truth. Certainty is an illusion. The only thing you can count on is change. The question is, will you fight it or will you leverage it? Most people get stuck because they're attached to how things used to be. They resist change because it feels uncomfortable. But let me tell you something. Comfort is the enemy of growth. The second you stop challenging yourself, the second you cling to the past instead of preparing for the future, you start falling behind. Look at history. The businesses, the individuals, the leaders who fail are the ones who refuse to adapt. They're the ones who keep playing by the old rules, hoping the world will stay the same. But the world doesn't wait for anyone. So how do you master adaptability? First, you shift your mindset. Instead of fearing the unknown, you have to start training yourself to embrace it. See, most people view uncertainty as a threat. They get anxious, they get overwhelmed, they focus on all the ways things could go wrong. But what if you flip that? What if you started seeing change as opportunity? What if every disruption, every unexpected shift, every curveball life throws at you was actually setting you up for something greater? The second key to adaptability is becoming a student of life. You've got to stay curious. You've got to stay hungry for knowledge. The moment you think you know it all, you've already lost. Because here's the reality. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. The strategies, the skills, the tools that got you to where you are today might not be enough to get you to where you want to be next. That's why the most successful people in the world never stop learning. They're always evolving, always upgrading their mindset, always staying ahead of the curve. They don't wait for things to happen to them. They prepare for what's coming. And finally, adaptability requires action. It's not just about thinking differently. It's about moving differently. Too many people get paralyzed when they don't have all the answers. They wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect opportunity. But perfection is a lie. The people who win in life aren't the ones who wait. They're the ones who execute, who make adjustments on the fly, who step into the unknown with confidence because they trust themselves to figure it out. Because that's what it really comes down to. Trust. Do you trust yourself enough to handle change? Do you believe in your ability to adapt, to rise, to create solutions even when things feel uncertain? Because the truth is, adaptability isn't about knowing everything. It's about believing that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. And when you have that kind of confidence, when you stop fearing change and start owning it, nothing can shake you. So here's the challenge. Stop waiting for life to stabilize. Stop hoping for things to slow down. They won't. Instead, speed up, become stronger, become sharper, become adaptable, because the future doesn't belong to those who resist change. It belongs to those who are bold enough to embrace it. If there's one thing that can make or break your ability to succeed in any area of life, it's emotional mastery. Because here's the reality. Life isn't just about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it. We've all been in situations where our emotions got the best of us. Anger, fear, frustration, self-doubt. And in those moments, our decisions weren't driven by logic, by vision, by clarity. They were driven by raw emotion. That's how people sabotage their own success. They let temporary feelings dictate long-term outcomes. But if you want to create lasting success, if you want to perform at your highest level, you must take control of your emotions instead of letting them control you. You must train yourself to rise above the chaos, to stay focused even when things don't go your way, to keep moving forward when most people would shut down. Because let me tell you something, your ability to master your emotions will determine your ability to master your life. Now, that doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. Doesn't mean you ignore them or pretend they don't exist. Emotions are a part of the human experience. They're signals, they're feedback, they're information. But most people don't use emotions as data, they use them as excuses. I don't feel motivated today, so I won't do the work. I'm frustrated, so I'll lash out. I'm afraid of failing, so I won't even try. But emotions are temporary. They change, they shift. And if you let a temporary emotion dictate your actions, you might make a permanent mistake. So how do you develop emotional mastery? First, you have to recognize that you are in control, not your circumstances, not your past, not the opinions of others, you. The moment you stop blaming external forces for your emotions is the moment you take back your power. Because here's the truth. Nobody makes you feel a certain way. Nobody forces you to react. You choose how you interpret events, and that interpretation determines how you feel. Second, you have to develop the ability to shift your emotional state on command. Think about it. High performers, top athletes, world-class leaders, they don't just hope they feel good before a big moment. They condition themselves to step into a peak state no matter what. They use movement, breath, focus, language. They take control of their body and mind because they understand that emotions follow action. If you change your physiology, if you change what you focus on, if you change the meaning you attach to a situation, you can change how you feel instantly. And finally, you have to build emotional resilience. Because life is going to test you. You're going to face setbacks, challenges, disappointments. You're going to have days where nothing goes as planned. But in those moments, you have a choice. You can either collapse under the weight of your emotions, or you can rise above them. And the people who succeed, the people who create extraordinary lives, they don't let emotions dictate their actions. They let their vision dictate their actions. They move forward anyway. So the question is, who's in control? You or your emotions? Because the second you take charge of how you feel, the second you decide that no external force will dictate your internal state, you become unshakable. And when you're unshakable, nothing can stop you. At the end of the day, all the knowledge, all the strategies, all the motivation in the world mean absolutely nothing if you don't execute. Because it's not what you know that changes your life. It's what you do consistently. And that's where most people fall short. They get inspired, they get excited, they start strong, but they don't follow through. And if you don't follow through, you don't get results. Success isn't about taking massive action once, it's about taking the right actions day after day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That's what separates the people who talk about their dreams from the people who actually make them happen. Because here's the truth. Everyone wants to succeed. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants an extraordinary life, but very few people are willing to put in the work, not just when it's convenient, but when it's difficult, when it's uncomfortable, when it's frustrating. That's where the real battle is won or lost. Think about it. How many times have you started something fired up with motivation only to lose momentum a few weeks or even days later? Maybe you set a goal to get in the best shape of your life and you went to the gym for a few days, but then life got busy. Maybe you committed to starting a business, but when things didn't go as planned, you let doubt creep in. Or maybe you said you were going to change your mindset, build better habits, take control of your life, but when challenges showed up, you fell back into old patterns. Why does this happen? Because we let our emotions dictate our actions instead of letting our commitments drive us forward. But real progress, real transformation only happens when you decide that no matter how you feel, no matter what obstacles come up, you're going to keep moving forward. And that's the secret. You have to condition yourself to take action whether you feel like it or not. Because if you only act when you're motivated, you'll never be consistent. And if you're never consistent, you'll never see results. So how do you break through? How do you make execution a non-negotiable part of your life? First, you have to raise your standards. You have to stop accepting mediocrity from yourself. You have to decide that half efforts, excuses, and procrastination are no longer an option. Because the second you truly commit to something, when you remove the option of quitting, you give yourself the chance to win. Second, you need to create habits that make action automatic. Because willpower is unreliable, motivation fades, but if you build the right routines, if you create systems that force you to take action every single day, you don't have to think about whether you're going to do the work. You just do it. That's how champions operate. That's how world-class performers show up day in and day out, no matter what. And finally, you have to shift your identity. Because if you see yourself as someone who struggles with consistency, someone who gives up when things get hard, you'll always find a way to prove that identity true. But the second you decide, I am the kind of person who follows through, I am someone who gets things done, I am someone who finishes what I start, your actions will begin to align with that belief. So ask yourself, are you just interested in success or are you committed to it? Because when you make the decision to execute, to follow through no matter what, you stop hoping for results, you create them. And that's when your life changes.